Hi everybody, my name is Adam McCarthy and this is going to be my video for my highlights over my e-portfolio for my practicum class in educational leadership from Fort Hays State University. So as you guys are looking through this e-portfolio, keep in mind I am an NDE student, so non-degree endorsed. So what you see on my portfolio might be different from someone who is attaining their master's degree in educational leadership. So obviously in a 15-minute video, we're not going to have enough time to really delve into everything that this portfolio contains, but I am going to try to highlight on a lot of the things that you see on the different left-hand columns here. So we're just going to work our way down starting from the top. So right here is my artifact folder. In the folder is going to be all of the different photos that you would see on my activities. I also have some additional materials beyond what was used for my 22 activities. So like for example, this community service day that I participated in and kind of supervised a group of students for. I have a lot of pictures of that, but on one slide containing this information on my ePortfolio, only used a couple pictures, but I thought having more is definitely better here. So I have a lot of information here to go along with a lot of my activities that are included in this ePortfolio. Next is going to be my goals video to kind of summarize what was discussed in here. I talked a lot about kind of my short-term and long-term goals, both personal and professional. Some personal goals. My wife and I have been married 5 years now, and we are going to be trying to have a child here in the next year or two. So becoming a father is definitely a short-term personal goal of myself. And then continuing to develop my skills. I'm currently a science teacher, and I've also teach mathematics as well, and continuing my knowledge about those concepts at the middle school and high school level. Personally, is something that I would like to do in the long term as well, beyond just the short term. And professionally, I've already had the great and fortunate opportunity to have applied for an admin position in my own building. So I definitely feel confident in taking that step. And short term for my professional goals is definitely to acquire an admin position. And this e-portfolio and everything that was done in this practicum class is definitely going to help me get ready for that. So leadership philosophy is my next tab here. So I have a copy of my leadership philosophy, and this is a document that I actually printed out and shared with my building leaders when I had my assistant principal interview. And so, having this resource here and then being able to relay all the information to my principals during the interview was definitely something that they said set me apart from a lot of the other candidates. So the fact that we are having to do this as part of our e-portfolio, we definitely recommend taking this with you to any future interviews you have, because principals love to see this kind of stuff and love to see that you're citing sources and that you are, dedicated to your specific leadership philosophies that you have. So I have 4 pillars for mine. Mine are motivating. I'm empathetic. I believe I'm intelligent. Maybe with the math and physics background, you may have got that. And then definitely reflective, looking at how I can always, take an experience and, if I'm going to have something similar in the future, what would I do different? Especially in the role of principal, I feel like those situations are going to come up all the time. But how can I improve myself for the next time? So I have my plan of study here next. And within my plan of study, what I've done is I've kind of highlighted all of the required courses here and the exact semester when I took it, so it's easy to navigate through. You'll kind of notice that based on some scheduling conflicts that I kind of had to jump around with a lot of my courses. So you can see here I started on track, with EDL 850 and 851 in summer of 2019. And then you can see we had a little jump here. Well, it's not that I didn't take a class August through October, it's just down here. So you can see I did not go in the order, but you know what? It really didn't make a difference as far as how I felt my experience was in the program. So for anyone else who may be watching this in the future, would definitely not focus so much on taking those in the correct order as they are listed there, but you can jump around and you'll be just fine with your experiences through the program. And next is my resume. And again, mentioning how I've already had an interview before, this is the exact resume that I used during my interview. And again, this was something that I got props on from my principal about it being short and sweet and one page to the point, especially with, my experiences and awards down here. I didn't go into great detail about all this stuff because one, my building principal already knows me, and two, this is stuff that I would like to share with them during an interview. Again, relaying, my good communication skills and, my confidence in my abilities right here as a teacher and a coach, but eventually as a building leader. So next is my activity form. I was able to complete around 175 hours for our required program. So adding all those up is around 175. Since I am looking to get a job someday at the middle school level, I chose to do the 10 secondary activities. Then I have the 7 elementary activities here, and as well as the 5 district. So something that I was real concerned about was COVID-19, as I'm sure a lot of us are right now, and how is that going to affect getting all of these 150 hours? Well, thankfully, I had already done a lot in the fall. I had a great opportunity to go visit an elementary school every single Tuesday and Wednesday, or Tuesday and Thursday during the fall 2019 school year. So I had so many experiences at the elementary level from that, and being a current middle school teacher, getting to compare and contrast a lot of what I see in these students who are coming up to my building at the next level once they pass 5th grade and go into 6th grade was really interesting. And getting to make an impact on those kids at the younger age was something that I really didn't think I would enjoy as much as I did. So honestly, that's kind of opened my mind a little bit to, maybe even pursuing an elementary job someday, but definitely my preference and where I feel, at least right now, I'm meant to be is at that middle school level. So now let's take a look at the activity tracker. This was definitely a great resource, being able to make sure that I was hitting all of the standards and reaching one of the components. This was something that I had to reference several times because as I was filling this out, I was be like, oh no, I actually did like 2 activities within one component, so now I have to go back and I would have to manipulate my activities that I created. But this tool definitely was useful, and filling out the 22 activities would have been so much more difficult if this had not been given to us. So definitely a great tool there. For my administrative verification forms here, I'm just fly through this real quick. I had 3. I had the elementary principal who I was with. Kyle White was my elementary supervisor. I had my one of my building assistant principals, Kevin Rolak, counted for my secondary supervisor. And then I had another assistant principal in my building, Christy Curbs, who also counted for the secondary as well as my district activities because she was present at a lot of those with me as well. So I was able to knock out all 3 of those and get those squared away. Again, with COVID, kind of interesting here. Instead of getting these filled out physically, sending them digitally and having them fill out the information and sign that off there was something I was kind of concerned about. But you know what? It ended up working pretty good in the end. So, again, through this COVID scenario, learned that, wow, there's so many great ways that we can use technology to our advantage, even when might not be what we're used to. So next I have my annotated bibliography. So this includes 33 different scholarly articles that all have to deal with different realms of being a principal. So whether it's dealing with community issues or dealing with in-house issues, maybe it's looking at how to be an effective leader or how to manage staff in the building. I have 33 different articles listed here, and so you can see most of them I would say are about half a page in length as you go through. Again, really focusing on that formatting, trying to get it to all look the same and look professional. And now that I have this completed, this again would be, just a great resource. Not that I would actually go through all of this in a future interview, but just to have this as like a hard copy resource to be able to share with the building principal to show them that you have done research, you have all these resources as far as, guidance for yourself as you go for maybe your first principal job. I think that would look really good to a building leader. So hanging on to that, maybe printing out a copy of that is something that I would potentially recommend as well for future interview. Next, let's look over some highlights from my district activities. So this is my district activities slideshow presentation. As I said before, my activity form, there were 5 different activities that I had completed through the district. Due to COVID-19, we were allowed to use at least 2 case studies. So I choose to only use one, and one of my case studies that I chose was inserted as one of my district activities. So we can just start with this first one here, and we'll probably transition to my secondary and elementary for the sake of time. But this right here was something that was really interesting. I had the opportunity to serve on my building's site council. I'm not sure if a lot of other school districts do something similar to this, but this happens twice a year, once each semester, where the superintendent gathers up representatives from each building as well as any parent. So any parent can attend this meeting, and he kind of gives a state of the district, tells where we're going, where we've been, what our plan is maybe for this next school year, maybe some highlights of achievements that the district or certain buildings in the district has reached. And so he spends about an hour going over that. And then I had a good 2 hours where we actually would split off into separate buildings. And so I happened to be the representative for my own school building. So that was something that was a great experience. My principal had confidence in me to be able to do this. And so he observed and watched while parents were asking me questions. A lot of these were not necessarily questions about why are we doing something this way? It was more a negative, like, you guys are doing this wrong. Here's how I think you can change it. And so I feel like doing that was a great experience as far as, dealing and having those hard conversations with parents that, we all who are looking to be principals are going to have to deal with someday. So that was a great experience to get me used to, thinking on the spot and coming up with a good response to a lot of these concerns that parents had. So I would say that was definitely one of my, most valuable district level activities that I had to complete. And again, that was in front of a ton of parents. That was not just one-on-one like a lot of your building principal scenarios might be. So I feel like that definitely was a trial by fire situation, is going to help me become a better building administrator someday. So let's jump down to the elementary level here and take a look at one activity that I completed at the elementary level. Again, I did 7 since I'm looking for my secondary position. We have some, one-on-one discussions with the building principal here, but this one is really good, and I'm going to highlight on this. So the building principal who I'm with is Kyle White. He's pictured right here, and here is a student that he happened to be working with. And the scenario is that he had a student who had been getting in trouble all the time. He was a first grader, and the teacher was sending the student out of the office almost every single day. Well, the principal came up with this intervention strategy and stating, well, hey, if you are able to make it a whole week without getting sent down to my office, I'm going to go buy you a model car, since the student was really into cars, and you can come down to my office on Friday of that week, and hey, we'll work on it together for an hour. And I have never seen a kid, and again, this is at elementary level, which I don't have a lot of experience with, but just latch onto that and really take advantage of that. So being involved in that process and helping Mr. White through that, and then looking to do that on my own in my own way of correcting behavior, was something that I learned at the elementary level through one of my activities. So at the secondary level here, to kind of wrap up, I would say one of the most relevant and recent things that I've had to complete is be a part of our school's summer conditioning program. And I kind of took on a role of an administrator with this, where I was observing and making sure that we were meeting all of the state criteria and our district criteria to be able to hold such a event for our students over summer break. So you can see here, I made an adjustment over day 1. We were all together, definitely not maintaining that 6 feet day 1, but hey, look down here, we got it corrected after I observed that. So that's going to do it for my final portfolio video. If feel free to go look through the rest of it. There's some good stuff.